Hi, hello everyone. Thank you, Simon, for joining and for the backup.
My pleasure.
I will switch to Romanian. Mulțumim frumos pentru participare și pentru timp în după amiaza asta să participați la webinarul nostru legat de soluția Infinity pentru bugetare, planificare și forecastare. Împreună cu Simon și cu unul dintre clienții noștri de la Casa Noastră, o să ne propunem astăzi să vă trecem așa rapid, deocamdată, printr-o suită de informații care sperăm să vă fie utile și să vă arate o alternativă, sperăm noi, bună, ideală în aceste procese care pot fi foarte consumatoare de timp și neplăcute, mai ales atunci când este vorba de echipe mari, complexe, cu oameni în diverse locații și cu multe iterații. Ca să nu mai vorbim de planificări în lanț pe fluxul de business de la un departament la altul, da? Începând clasic de la vânzări și apoi mergând spre aprovizionare, producție, supply chain și așa mai departe. Ca să trecem la lucruri concrete, pentru cei care nu mă cunosc, sunt Mihaela Stănel, parte din echipa comercială MSG Plaut România. Îl am alături de mine pe Simon Kirby, este partenerul nostru din partea Infinity, director în zona de livrare de soluții de planificare bugetare către clienți. Cei care lucrăm deja îl cunoașteți pe Simon, restul sperăm să ne cunoaștem în curând. So to switch a bit to English, the agenda for today will be quite simple. We'll introduce very briefly MSG Plaut Romania. Afterwards, I'll give the floor to Simon to tell us a bit more about Infinity and your solutions that do the magic together with Qlik and makes our life easier when it comes to planning, budgeting, and forecasting. And last but not least, any story without a proof is nothing. So we'll give the floor to our dear client, Adrian Ceaușu from Casa Noastra, Q-Fort. And he will share from his team's story and learnings. And very important, please do ask questions all along the webinar. Yeah, the worst question is the one you don't ask. So really, we are very much into exchanging ideas and sharing all kind of information that would be valuable to any of you. This being said, I can jump into a very short presentation of MSG Plaut Romania, the proud partner of Infinity for Romania and Bulgaria. Give me a second to share. Okay. So, is it visible? Yeah, I just have a few slides. Yes. And I'll go very fast through. Thank you, Simon, for the confirmation. So what we like to say about ourselves as an organization is that we really are global player, a powerful company with startup spirit. And you can see this from our approach and how we work together. We are independent offices. For example, as part of the group with headquarters in Vienna, we are present in 10 countries around Central and Eastern Europe, but with own target and own drive to do to bring the best to the local market with our solutions. Nevertheless, we are backed up by our group worldwide with more than 10,000 employees and with not less than 43 years of experience. We are focused on technology and people. So just in few words, we are international but also flexible. We have the power of a strong partner, but also the empathy of the people that are nearby you in Romania. And we are different experts, but we do make teams that would best deliver for you. So this is why we really like to stress on best of both. No matter where we are in the world, in what countries and what projects we deliver, we are focused on SAP and analytics. As I mentioned to you, we are present in this part of Europe as part of Plaut, recently bought by MSG. And in Romania, we are founded in 2005 with more than 50 employees, SAP Gold Partner, Master Reseller of Qlik for Romania and Bulgaria. And here under this chapter, we also have the partnership and the clients together with the Inphinity team, doing all kind of SAP and analytics services, and having you and other companies as clients from really big companies as IMAG, Banca Transilvania, Prospecțiuni, Omnia Sig, Sanex, to many other players from different areas, from distribution to production, medical services, financial services, automotive, and so on. We are proud we have Biopharm, for example, and Q4 among our clients for Infinity related projects and services. This being said, I finish my presentation. I don't usually like to go through PowerPoint, so I leave to Simon the best part to share with you the news or more details about forms and our story today about how to do the budgeting, planning and forecasting easier, nicer, more flexible, and to get rid of spreadsheets. Thank you, Simon.
Excellent. Thank you, Michaela. Thank you very much. And nice to see everyone. Let's dive right in and we'll talk a little bit about how we can help you with financial planning, budgeting, forecasting, and so on. So, sorry, just do this. So Michaela, can you see my screen? Is that okay?
Yeah, perfect.
Excellent. Okay, just one or two very quick slides just to explain a few things about Infinity. So, who is Infinity? We are a specialist software company. We make a number of different add-on products that sit on top of Qlik Sense. So just if you're using Qlik View, we recommend that you might migrate to Qlik Sense, because then, of course, you could use Infinity as well. We've been working with Qlik for more than 15 years. In fact, it's closer now to 20 years. We, as a software company, we are a spin-off from a master reseller in Central Europe. So that company is based in Slovakia and looks after Qlik's customers in Slovakia, in Czechia, and in Hungary. Okay, so very similar to MSG Plaut, but for a different set of countries. We have over 250 customers, and that's growing very, very fast. We have been adding new customers like regularly every single month. It's become a bit of a train that we're on now to try and keep up with everyone, which is really good. And we have a fantastic strategic roadmap for the next few years as well. So, what do we do? What are our products? So very quickly, we have three different products. The first one that you see here, we call Infinity Forms. This is the most popular product. This is the one that lets you enter data into Qlik. I won't go through these points on the slide. I'll show you those in a demo in just a moment. But the evolution of Infinity Forms is Infinity Forms Planning, or Planning Manager, which lets you do some really complicated and comprehensive planning. Okay. We have two other products. Infinity Flow allows you to create process maps and process charts. Excuse me. And also very popular, and allows you to do some very interesting things with like organization charts, process maps, etc., etc. And our third product is called Infinity Mole, and this is a connector, and it lets you actually look at unstructured data like Word documents, PDF documents, emails, etc., break those down, put them into a table, and load that data into Qlik Sense for analysis. Okay, so those are the three products that we have. So what can you use Infinity Forms for? Now, Infinity Forms is the thing we'll concentrate on most today. So this is a quick example of the kinds of things that you could use to do things with Infinity Forms. The first one is data entry. So you can add comments, you can add context to your data, you can explain movements in numbers, you could create some mobile surveys if you wish to, okay? The next one is planning. This is what we will focus on today. Planning can mean many, many different things. It could mean, let's build a budget, let's build a forecast, let's compare our forecast to our budget, let's do demand forecasting. Maybe it's capacity planning that you need to do, but planning is very, very popular with Infinity, okay? I'm going to jump this way. You can also do Qlik development operations. There are a number of spreadsheet-based activities that you can do with Qlik, including things like section access or reload task chaining, license management. These are often performed using a spreadsheet, but you can replace those spreadsheets with Infinity Forms if you want to, okay? And then finally, my favorite one is actually build what we call tactical business solutions. What do I mean by tactical? Normally, you look at most businesses, you have an IT department that does all of the important IT software, looks after all of the main systems, the hardware, the software, etc. End of that spectrum, you have what we call end user computing. And end user computing is often built by clever people using a spreadsheet to solve maybe a departmental problem, something small, okay? Now, the problem with end user computing is that it grows. And before you know it, your one person that developed this spreadsheet cannot keep up because it's now being used by 50 different people, 100 different people, and the use cases are coming in thick and fast. And suddenly they're not doing their day job anymore. They're managing this spreadsheet. So what do you do when your spreadsheets get too big and you need to move to something, but IT, you either don't have the budget for IT to do it, or IT cannot support you, okay? That's where you could do something like this, where you can build a tactical business solution. And that lets you create something in Qlik with Infinity to do some very interesting solutions. So for example, there's a company here, they operate across Europe, they are called HelloFresh. HelloFresh deliver food boxes with a menu to people that want to cook certain recipes, okay? In the UK, HelloFresh used Qlik and Infinity to build a logistics tracking solution so that they could track the box from the moment it leaves their warehouse to the time that it is delivered to the customer. And often, if there's a problem, they don't know where that box goes. It might go to the neighbor, it might be left in the garden, but HelloFresh are able to track exactly where those boxes are left. Okay. And this is what we mean by a tactical business solution. It's a comprehensive, it might be an interim thing that lives for a number of months or maybe a few years, but it's sometimes a stepping stone to a strategic solution. Sometimes it lasts for a very long time and stays in place for a long time. So I'm going to stop with the slides and let's jump across now to a demo. So let me just go to vertical tabs so we can move around more easily. So Michaela, just a quick check as well. Can you see this new slide, the demo I'm
Yes,
showing?
yes,
Yeah, good, good.
perfect.
Okay, and just a reminder, people, if anyone would like to ask a question, please use the Q&A capability within this webinar. Please ask any questions. And Michaela, if anyone asks a question, please interrupt me. I'll be very happy to answer the question. Okay. So I'll try
Yeah.
and keep this to 20 minutes so that we can hand over to Adrian and he can then go through some of the key points about his experience with Infinity on Qlik. Okay. So what does this particular Qlik app do, this demo that I'm about to show you? It does a number of different things, okay? The first thing it does is let you set targets, and we'll see how you do that. It gives you 3 different ways of performing a budget or creating a budget, and then being able to analyze that budget. You can then do some very powerful forecasting where you compare your budget to your different forecasts. And then you can do some analytics where you collaborate with your colleagues and you can analyze in detail what it is that you want to do with this information that you've captured. Let's start with looking at the targets. Let's jump to this particular form, this particular sheet. So what are we looking at here? Okay, first of all, we have some normal Qlik KPI objects just here. These would normally be powered by the Qlik data in the data model. These are slightly different, and we'll come to that in just a moment. We also have a Qlik bar chart, but here at the top, we have an Infinity form, okay? And this form lets us enter data and save the data, which you cannot with Qlik. So let's look at what we have here, and actually let's make it a little bit bigger. So let's zoom in slightly. It's not zooming in. Why is it not zooming in? I don't know. Okay. All right. So let's see. We have some data that can be entered into some of these boxes, but not all of them. So let's start with why is that? We can see that we can't enter numbers into United States. That's because this has already been approved, and there's a checkbox just here. If I take that away, I can now enter numbers into these boxes as well. If I approve it again, then it becomes locked. If we go to Finland, let's say we want to add some numbers here, we can add that, and then the actual target above, as I click enter and then save that data, the target above will change and will update automatically. Now, you also have here a row total, okay, where we're calculating the sum of these figures that we've entered here. We have the data that's being pulled from the data model with last year's revenue, and then we have a difference calculation, which is the difference between the target and last year's revenue. Now these values update automatically. Let me take away some of the numbers I've just added. We'll take this away and put in, say, a 1. And these automatically change, just like you'd expect to see with Excel. Okay, that happens straight away. When you hit save and you save the data, it would be visible to everyone that's using the sheet. Everyone that uses the sheet will see that happen at the same time. Okay. Okay. So when you make some changes and you enter some data, you also then capture who made that change and what was the date that that change occurred. Okay. So we capture automatically the change by and the change date. And this is very important because it means that when you make a change, you create a new version of the record. So we do version control so that you keep a full history of everything that's ever been entered if you want to. You don't have to, but if you want to, okay? So what else can we see about an Infinity form? Excuse me. We also have some action buttons. And this is very powerful because what this means is you can click a button and you can do a number of things. Let's start with some obvious things. So we enter some numbers and then go, oh, no, didn't want to do that. Change it. And you just hit clear and it will take away what you've entered. Okay. You can hit the save button to save something, or you can create an automatic save, which will save your data every 5 seconds if you want to, okay? You can also do a batch edit. So let's say we want to enter some numbers in Q1, some numbers in Q2, some numbers in Q3, and some numbers in Q4. We'll say, okay, and it will automatically enter those numbers across all of the values for all of the quarters, okay? And again, if you don't like it, you can hit clear, that can be taken away. So far, so good. We also have this button here. If we click on the info button, you can create a pop-up window that will give you some information. You can create links to other parts of the app or other websites. If you wanted to, you could jump to other locations. So what is happening when we actually enter these numbers? Now, you'll see here that this number here, last year's revenue, and the target for the current year, the 688, is actually the same as this number here. Okay, so what I want to do is just change something about that Finland number again. Let's do this, and we'll hit save. And when we do that, our target jumps instantly to 19 million. And it's exactly the same as this. But for those of you that know Qlik very well, I did not reload this application. I did not force a reload. I could have forced a reload, but I didn't. So Infinity has the ability to enter data, save that data, and instantly update Qlik objects, including KPIs and bar charts and so on. Okay, so you can see that this bar here for Finland is now much bigger than it was. So if I take these numbers away, let's take those away again, and we'll hit save. Our KPI will go back to normal and the bars go back to normal. All right. So you can see how easy it is to enter data, save it, other people can see what you're doing, and then you can influence the other objects that you see in your Qlik app. All right. So that's how we can set some targets at the high level. What if we want to go down in detail? All right. So let's start with the budgeting straight table. Okay. So this is where we could do some budgeting at the product level. So in here, we have our countries. We have countries, Finland, France, Germany, Italy, and US again. And we also now have some products. Again, we have the months of the year. So we're actually creating a budget that says, I want to enter in these numbers or these values of sales for these products in these countries. Now, once you do that, if you then say, I'm happy with everything that's been done, you can then click the approval button and all of these values will be locked and then you won't be able to change them. So in other words, you let people come in, enter the numbers, and then you approve it and then you lock down your budget, which is exactly what everyone needs to do when they're creating a budget. So there's something else that you could do. Let's say you wanted to actually import or copy some numbers you already have in Excel. Let's say we pretend that we already have the numbers in Excel. Let's do this. We'll export this data. We'll click open this Excel file and we will enable editing. And then what we'll do here is let's imagine that we want to say this number will grow by an amount every month. So let's say we do equals this and we multiply it by 1.1. Okay, so we have 10% growth. Okay, so then we drag this along to December. So there's our growth month on month. We do Control C. We jump back into the planning app. Let's take that away. We'll go to February and do Control V. And there you can see that we've actually pasted in from Excel the numbers that we've just entered. All right, and you can see that by the fact that it's become bold and you see these little dots just here. That tells me that something has changed. When I hit save, again, that saves the data and it's as quick as that. Okay, So that's how you could do some budgeting at the straight table. You could also do something like this. You could say, I want everything in January to be a specific value, but only for the country of Finland. So let's do this. Let's choose Finland and we'll select that. And now we only see data for Finland. Let's say we want everything in February to be fixed at 2000 and we enter this here and that will apply 2000 to there. Now, let's say we then take off the filter and now we can see that that 2000 was only applied to Finland. It didn't get applied to France or Germany or any of the other countries. So you can be very precise about batch updates or bulk updates if you need to. Okay, let's go on to something that lets us have even more control. Okay, let's say you want to do something at a very detailed level. So let's say, first of all, you want to see last year's numbers. Let's select last year. And now in our table, we can see last year's numbers, okay? And most of them we cannot change. But this thing here, if I just, because I need to bring your attention to this little area, this one allows me to edit this cell, but this FX symbol means it's calculated. So FX means it's a calculated value. We're pulling it in from last year, but this lets me enter the data and change it. If I click it, we're now looking at last year's numbers again. Let's imagine we want an empty row. Let's click empty. And now we have an empty row that we can enter data into. And we can do that by clicking on the FX, making these things editable. We can add some numbers, so we can put some things in there. And it automatically calculates. You see, it automatically creates a column calculation. And then if we said, okay, we now want to pull in data from a prediction. So say you use something like R or Python, and you've created a prediction of what you think might happen. Let's select prediction, and actually we'll switch back from this to the calculated numbers. You'll see your prediction on this row for that particular product. All right. So you get extremely capable, flexible ability to do this kind of thing with auto calculations of columns and rows, exactly as you'd expect Excel to work. The big difference between this and Excel is the governance. You've got the security of Qlik. So if Simon logs into this sheet, maybe I can only enter data into certain countries. If my colleague Richard logs into here, he can enter data into everything. But that security is governed by Qlik. Okay, so you get the ability to have control. I was speaking to a customer yesterday. They do a process in their company. They send out twice a year, they send out 90 spreadsheets to different parts of their group, 90. They all come back and it takes weeks to copy and paste and consolidate everything. Imagine if you do all of that in one place. This is that one place. You have the ability of a spreadsheet all in one place, which is fantastic and what we want. Now, the next thing we could do is imagine that what you really want to do is say, right, in the month of January, I want to create a revenue number and I want that distributed across all of my countries for all of my products. So at the moment we have 35,000 in the month of January. Okay, so let's say we make that 500,000. So we do this and we hit enter. And it automatically distributes down your numbers through this table. And this is actually a pivot table. So I can basically click on different areas of this and see only the totals at the country level. I can look at this year, I can look at next year, etc. So just as a pivot table works, and you'd expect, you can begin to look into this in detail. What happens if I change a value at the bottom level of the hierarchy? Let's put in some very big number here, for example, hit enter. We do this and it automatically aggregates up through the hierarchy. So up through Finland, up through to the total, okay? And there's a very clever methodology that allows this distribution of numbers to happen, okay? Again, not everyone does this kind of planning. Some people want to be able to say, do some what if scenarios. What if I do this? What if I do that? What would the output be? What would the result be? Okay, so it lets you actually do very dynamic, fast testing of the kind of projections that you think you might want to do and might want to see. So if you then want to do some analysis, You can dive into this and do some analysis. This is actually quite a nice way of looking at a forecast. So let's make this bigger. At the moment, we are looking at the version of the data, which is our budget. And because it's a budget, everything is locked. I can't change anything here. Let's change the version by choosing a selection and say version 1. And this is actually version 1 of our forecast. Okay. So now what we're seeing is some numbers that have been pulled through from the data model. These are our actuals, the figures that we've actually sold in January, February, and March. And here we now see data that we have entered for our forecast. So this is kind of like a rolling forecast. We have April, May, June, and we can change these as we go through the year. We can change this forecast, and the total will automatically calculate for us. Okay, so it will automatically calculate, and we keep the data and time of who did this. Okay. So that's the key point of how Infinity Forms can help you do financial planning. Something everyone asks me, I'm going to preempt a question, is how does this work? So let me just jump to this. I want to show you what's going on behind the scenes. So this diagram represents your Qlik environment. So here, this box here represents your Qlik server or Qlik servers, okay? Up here, you have your Infinity Forms extension, which is a two-part extension. There's a front end and there's also a back end, okay? So what happens is when your users enter data into the form, the backend captures that data and says, I either want to write it into a file or I want to write it into a database. You get a choice. You can choose either XML or QVD or any SQL database you can think of. So that could be Oracle, Microsoft SQL Server, etc. Okay, so you can enter this data into here, and then you can do some very good things like reload the numbers back into your Qlik app or reload the numbers back into any other Qlik app if you want to. And it's not just numbers, it could also be a commentary. So let me just show you very quickly one more app and then I'll switch to Adrian. So if I just go into this app, this is a human resources app, so not planning. And what this is letting me do is look at people that have applied for a job in our company. Okay, so these people are all applying for jobs in this company. We can see the job they've applied for, what they hope to be earning, the city that they want to work in. All of these have been entered manually by users. You can also upload a file. So if I click on this box, you will then see you can pick a file, you can enter something from here. It could be any file. Infinity doesn't care, okay? We're also missing some columns. There are buttons here that will let us see them. So let's say we want to see the skills of these users or these applicants. We click this and these blue columns appear. We can see their language skills. We can see their technical skills. Let's hide those again. Let's see where we are in the process. So the hiring process is red here for this one, but green for this one. And we can add some comments. So I can add a comment here. Okay, so you can get the idea. You can enter comments, we can save that. So you can capture text, you can capture numbers, you can upload files, and then you can do some very interesting things like approve documents. So let's say you've uploaded some kind of invoice into into here. So just look at this and you'll see a picture of an invoice. So there's the invoice that we've received. We've loaded that into our Infinity form. And now we need to actually review this, and it needs to go through different teams for review. So the first thing that happens is the facts checking team, they will check this invoice with their form, and then this green box will appear, okay, it will go green. The finance team have a different form. They complete their form, and then when they've completed it, this will go green. The legal team complete their form, this will go green, and then the manager does a review of everything and make sure they're happy, and that will then be reviewed. And then you have a complete change log, a view of all of the changes that you've made for this particular record, all right? So you can see the process that's actually going on. And also on this side, we see an Infinity Flow object that's explaining the stages of that process, what's happened and when. So I'm going to stop now. I'm conscious of the time. So let me stop sharing and I'm going to hand over. Hopefully Adrian is available to speak to us. So I'll stop sharing and we can hand over to Adrian. Is that okay?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Adrian, are you able to join the call and unmute?
Yeah, sure.
Excellent. Thank
Hello,
you.
everybody.
Hello.
I was on mute. Hello, everybody. I'm
Hello.
Adrian Ceaușu from Casa, Romania. I know Casa sounds a little strange in Italy almost, but this is our name. Okay, we are using your product for almost a year and...
Adrian, putem vorbi în română. E ok.
Ok, cum vreți. Okay,
Mersi.
Perfect. Sunt Adrian Ceaușu de la Casa noastră. Brandul, suntem cunoscuți sub brandul Q4, este brandul produselor noastre de tâmplărie ferestre și uși termoizolante. Ce să zic, folosim aplicația suita de Infinity, în special partea de Forms, pe partea de bugetare și targetare a agenților de vânzări. Colaborarea noastră a început din dorința de a schimba vechea aplicație de bugetare pe care o foloseam. Ce să zic, funcționa destul de greu datorită volumului mare de date și am început să căutăm. Am văzut o aplicație de bugetare, am dorit-o, ne-a plăcut cum arăta. Până la urmă, dintr-o greșeală am ajuns la Inphinity Forms, pentru că noi am cumpărat suita și nu aplicația în sine. Aplicația era dezvoltată de cineva și ne-am trezit cumva cu posibilitatea de a dezvolta o astfel de aplicație fără având-o inițial. Și împreună cu partenerii de la Plaut am dezvoltat această aplicație de bugetare. Este o aplicație pe care noi o folosim. Am folosit-o anul trecut în vreo 4 versiuni. Acum o inițiem pentru anul următor. Este destul de complexă, are vreo 3 module, pleacă de la zona de vânzări, bugetarea produselor pe canale de vânzare, bazat pe un preț mediu se transformă în cantități, acele cantități se duc în producție, unde pe baza costurilor medii se distribuie conform istoricului pe luni, pe centre de lucru, ulterior se duc datele către zona de buget de vânzări și cheltuieli, unde avem atașat și un P&L. Este o aplicație destul de complexă, ne-a luat ceva timp, dar suntem mulțumiți de ea cum funcționează și o să o folosim în continuare. Pe partea de Forms noi folosim aproape tot din ce ne-a povestit Simon mai devreme, pe Forms simplu, nu modulul cel nou pe care ni l-a arătat. Ce pot să vă mai spun? Noi folosim conexiunea ca și stocare de bază într-un SQL server. Este mai vizibilă. Practic, datele sunt la vedere, putem să le culegem mai ușor, să le expunem și în alte zone. Este mult mai flexibil decât partea de QVD sau de XML. Ce mi s-a părut mie mai interesant aici, în zona asta, și Simon nu a amintit, sau poate nu era cazul, este poate ceva mai complex, sunt niște acțiuni pe care poți să le legi de interfață, poți să adaugi niște butoane în spatele cărora poți să legi niște acțiuni de prefil, de calcule la nivel de celule. Acea distribuire, de o arăta el mai devreme, se pot face prin niște acțiuni legate de niște butoane, astfel încât să preiei date din altă parte, să transformi datele existente și așa mai departe. Noi folosim și metoda asta, la fel ca și partea de copy-paste din Excel. E ceva foarte util. Pe lângă bugetare am început și pe zona de targetare a agenților de vânzări. Tot la fel se stabilește un target, se vede evoluția în timp, anul trecut, în funcție de la ce vrem să facem referire. Lucrează destul de bine, având în vedere că e legat de Qlik, care lucrează permanent în memorie și încarcă tabele în memorie și viteza de acces la partea de memorie la ROM este mult mai rapidă decât cea de pe suporturile dure. Ce aș putea să vă mai povestesc? Nu știu, e prima dată. Mie îmi place mai mult să răspund la întrebări decât să vorbesc de unul singur. Eu sunt o persoană mai tehnică și nu știu ce ați mai dori să mai aflați. Avem destul și de mulți utilizatori în sistem, avem și partea de section access de care zicea Simon Curry, e implementat pe partea de utilizatori și drepturi. Și cum am spus mai devreme, se pot face indoor, adică îți dă o flexibilitate destul de mare și, bineînțeles, nu știi totul la început, dar apelezi cumva la parteneri, în cazul nostru Plaut, care sunt la dispoziție și chiar împreună am reușit să dezvoltăm o aplicație destul de utilă pentru noi.
Uite, ca să sparg gheața, voi sunteți clientul lui Alexandru Voicea, deci eu nu știu prea multe despre voi. Cam cum s-a schimbat procesul ăsta de planificare, adică de la, nu știu, o lună, două, la cât? Sau care a fost impactul, nu știu, în timp, în munca în echipă, sau ce ați văzut că s-a schimbat așa în timp?
Sigur, partea de introducere a datelor e mult mai rapidă și partea de preluare dintr-un modul în altul, pe cum am spus mai devreme, la noi e o situație destul de complexă. Se pleacă de la vânzări, se trece prin producție, ulterior toate costurile se duc pe conturi și centre de cost către partea de contabilitate. Da, se lucrează mult mai repede și, ce să zic, am ajuns să cunoaștem destul de bine aplicația și partea din spate de zona de bază de date. E ceva diferit față de ce aveam înainte, unde nu aveam acces la nimic, nu puteam să dezvoltăm nimic și ne bazam practic pe implementator, la care uneori, de cele mai multe ori, timpul de reacție nu era cel așteptat și asta ne întârzia destul de mult. Acum flexibilitatea e mult mai mare și noi suntem ok, suntem mulțumiți. Deja cred că undeva la sfârșitul anului, dacă nu maxim la începutul anului următor, noi o să avem bugetul pregătit. Deja partea de vânzări e aproape introdusă, urmează producția și da.
Ok. Adică începeți anul nou cu procesul de bugetare încheiat.
Da, undeva la început, cred că la sfârșitul ianuarie suntem în regulă cu el. Bineînțeles, cum a arătat și Simon mai devreme, există în paralel și partea de previous year, current year, adică există și zona de comparație la care se face referire ulterior cu actualizări lunare și e foarte, foarte ușor vizibil.
Uite, avem o întrebare, cred că e și pentru Simon. Mulțumim. Legat de integrarea cu alte sisteme, SAP, RP, SAP, BV, dacă avem un demo pe lanțul acesta, stocuri, purchasing, producție, costuri, centre de cost, sales, PNL. Simon, I think this one is for you regarding integration with SAP, ERP, and the SAP.
Okay, so I mentioned that we can write directly to an SQL database. Yeah. I have to be honest, I know very little about SAP, so I'm not sure whether you can configure SAP with an SQL database. If you can, then you can create a table inside an SQL database and Infinity can see that and write data into it. We actually recommend that you do not write back to the source system. It's not a good idea because normally data going into a source table has a very rigid reason why it goes in there and it's carefully controlled by the master system. But if you have a separate table, you write your data in this and then you can then work out how you want to put it back into the master system if need be, or you can use it for analysis in Qlik and let the Qlik data model associate the data together, which is what we recommend actually. Okay, so in terms of integration directly with SAP, I'll be honest, I don't know, but if you can configure SAP with an SQL database, then yes, we can write into an SQL table that SAP can maybe see or use. Yeah. There's another question around how the security area is covered, considering that we work with inserts in the database. Yeah. When it comes to writing data into an SQL table, you have normally the people that work inside Qlik, and they are often BI developers. So we have set up Infinity so that you can create your form inside Qlik Sense with the fields in your tables, but you need an SQL database administrator to create an SQL table that mirrors that form. Normally you need two different people, an SQL admin and an Infinity stroke Qlik developer to do that work. If the BI developer has the ability to also create the SQL table, great, then you have some shortcuts. Otherwise, you do need to honor the security division between SQL administrators and Qlik BI developers. Okay. If you want to keep version control inside an SQL table, then that needs to be turned on inside the SQL database. It's not something that we do in Infinity. If you write your data into a file, like an XML or QVD file, the version control happens automatically, and that's managed by Infinity. In SQL, it's managed by the SQL tool, the SQL database management tool. Okay. Does that answer that question, Michaela?
I think so.
Okay.
If not, we'll get back to Sergio.
Aș putea să mai
Spune,
adaug
Adrian,
și
te rog.
eu aici ceva. Noi chiar folosim acest lucru.
Perfect.
Practic, culegem date din ERP, le proiectăm în Qlik, venim cu forms peste, scriem informațiile într-o tabelă SQL, exact cum spunea Simon mai devreme, într-o tabelă buffer, bineînțeles, nu o tabelă de sistem important, o tabelă buffer scoasă undeva în exterior. Și ulterior această bază poate fi accesată din ERP fără nicio problemă. Adică folosim și se poate seta și baza de date din SQL să țină această versionare, dar în altă tabelă, astfel încât să nu pierzi modificările pe care le-ai făcut.
Ok, mulțumim
De asta am ales varianta cu SQL, pentru că este ușor de integrat.
Perfect.
Then Lucian has asked another question. Is there a possibility to create the APIs dynamically depending on the scenarios? Okay, great question. It depends what APIs you want to create. Infinity is built on APIs, and we do expose those APIs to developers if they need to use them. We'd recommend working with us on the use case specifically, but yes, you can see the APIs, you can use those APIs, and by definition, you could create those dynamically, yes. If you run on Qlik Cloud rather than Qlik on-premise, then you can also create automations using Qlik Application Automation, sometimes known as QAA. That way, what you can do is create action buttons in your forms that trigger an automation in Qlik Application Automation. So you could do something like send an email or update another system. So you could enter data, write it to a file or an SQL database, and then create an automation that pulls that data and sends it somewhere else. For example, ServiceNow or Workday or SAP or something like that. Okay, so that is possible. Yeah. There are many different ways of working with Qlik Cloud. So we can also work with Qlik Answers, which is this new Gen AI technology. We can also work with Qlik AutoML, where the data can be entered directly from a form into AutoML. And inside Qlik Application Automation, you use workflow building blocks And there are a number of Infinity blocks in QAA automatically. They are free. You can use those now. You don't even need to buy Infinity as a product to use those. And that lets you get data or post data into a database or from a database. Okay. So yeah, there's a lot of clever ways that you can use Infinity, both programmatically and manually as well. Okay. Luciana, I hope that answers your question. Okay, cool.
Yes, I think so. If not, we can keep in touch. Putem și să ținem legătura după webinar. O să facem follow-up cu înregistrarea, cu prezentările. Da, și puteți reveni chiar și după webinar. Putem și să beneficiem de prezența lui Simon și să mai punem întrebări sau mai ales și de prezența lui Adrian, să-l mai întrebăm cum a fost la ei, ce s-a întâmplat, nu știu, sau dacă ai niște lecții sau ceva ce ai recomanda legat de implementare sau de proces în sine, cum a fost la voi.
Da, la noi s-a bazat mai mult pe, cum să zic, pe cunoașterea structurii de date. Noi culegem datele din ERP și trebuie să ai destul de multe cunoștințe, să știi de unde le iei, de unde le culegi, adică e nevoie de o persoană tehnică care să facă scripturile în spate și partea de logică, de acțiuni. Bineînțeles, cineva de la contabilitate, adică e nevoie de un lucru în echipă din mai multe domenii. Adică nu un singur ITist, nu cred că este suficient, trebuie lucru în echipă.
I've noticed, Michaela, there's another question in the Q&A area. So the question is, does Infinity only work on Qlik, or does it work on other applications like Power BI? That is the question. The answer is, at this time, it only works on Qlik Sense. It does work on Qlik Sense on-prem as well as Qlik Sense in the cloud, or Qlik Cloud as it's otherwise known. It doesn't yet, and I'll underline that word, yet, work with Power BI, but next year, there is a very good chance that it will. But I'm going to say an English phrase, watch this space. Okay, because we are working on that, but it's a strategic decision that will be made by the Infinity board in the next week or so. Okay, but there's a good chance that we will take Infinity to Power BI, and if that is successful, maybe other technologies as well. But right now, Qlik today, but maybe next year it will be Power BI as well. Okay, so hopefully that answers that question too.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Simon. And,
absolutely my pleasure. No problem
Adrian.
at all.
Also, I don't know if you understood, Adrian stressed on the implementation success factors, that there is a multidisciplinary team. You cannot have only one IT guy to run the whole process.
Because of the accounting knowledge that we don't have, not because it's not easy to use.
Because it's a blend of technical and business knowledge.
Technical is easy, but you need to have some financial knowledge.
True.
For budgeting
true.
or for each area you want to touch.
Yep. And we find that if we are developing budgeting or forecasting solutions for customers, then we bring that technical expertise, or MSG Plaut would bring that expertise, and we need that kind of like financial expertise from the customer. I guess MSG Plaut have both. Maybe you have the ability to do both. As a technology company, I understand finance up to a point, but I'm not an accountant. I've never built a budget in reality in my life. My wife, she does, but yeah. I understand the principles of everything, but I've never actually done it myself. So from a technical point of view, we bring the technical skills and we work with partners and customers to bring that business knowledge.
Yes,
Yeah.
it is so important to have the mix. We see this advantage also in the ERP related implementations, but also and even more in the analytics and Infinity related implementation. It is crucial to understand both technology and business.
Yeah. Wow. Can I just say one thing? It's very rare that we run these webinars and everyone stays to the end, right? I don't think a single person has left. Now, either they're not allowed to leave,
even you resisted
even
to
me.
the end.
So I just want to say a huge thank you to everyone that has stayed. Hopefully, this has been very interesting for everybody, but it's also very, very impressive that everyone has stayed. So thank you. That's really good. Really, really good.
Yeah. Also from our side, and just to have our details for follow-up, I'll share one slide with our contact details. And of course, we'll forward any questions you might have for Simon. Can you see my screen? Huh?
Yes, yeah, we can, yeah.
Okay. And let's build on it. If you stayed and asked questions, looks interesting and useful. Let's see the next steps together.
Perfect. Excellent. Thank you very much. Thank you, Michaela, and thank you, Adrian, as well, for saying nice things about Infinity. It's very kind. Thank you.
Thank you also, and of course, if you have questions, Alex has my contact details. And thank you.
Yes,
thank you again.
The man in the shadow was Alex Voicea, our colleague, really pushing us hard to organize the webinar. So thank you for make it happen. And see you. Keep in touch, and we'll follow up as well with all the materials you showed so far, and with links to the demos.
Yeah.
And please do not stop ask questions. You'll get inspired, and this will help you.
Perfect.
Many thanks, Simon and the team. Many thanks to our partners for organizing this, and see you soon.
Great. Thank you, Michaela.
Have a nice end of the year.
Thank you, everybody.
Yeah.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye.
Goodbye.
Ciao. Bye-bye.